And it's an unfortunate fact, but that moral leadership and reestablishing that moral leadership begins with Iraq. And my view is that it would be an enormous mistake to adopt the McCain doctrine and escalate this war in Iraq. That is not what we should do. That is not what we should do. What we should do is make it clear we're not going to stay in Iraq, and the best way to make it clear is to actually start leaving. That's what we should do. The other thing that we need to do is we need to tell the truth about what happened in Iraq in the past and what's happening now. You know, first of all, many of us, including me, believed that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We were wrong. I voted for this war, which many of you know, probably all of you know, and I have since said that I should not have voted for this war. It was a mistake, and I take responsibility for that. I am responsible for that. I'm not responsible for the conduct of the war. That's Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, and they bear the responsibility for that. But if we want to lead again, the foundation for moral leadership is to tell the truth. To tell the truth about what's happened in the past and to tell the truth about where we are now. And where we are now is we have bad and worse choices. And nobody can guarantee what the result in Iraq is going to be, no matter what path we take. The American people need to hear that. They deserve to hear that. They deserve to hear the truth from their leaders. But I'll tell you something. If we don't lead in this world, we are the preeminent power on the planet today. If we don't lead, there is no leadership. And there's chaos and instability and insecurity. We are the foundation for security and stability in the world. In order for us to be that foundation, the rest of the world has to look up to and respect the United States of America. The rest of the world needs to believe that we recognize not just our responsibility to ourselves, but our responsibility to humanity. Because we have an enormous responsibility to humanity. And there's so many ways for us to show what we care about and meet that responsibility. Right now, there's a genocide going on in Sudan, in Western Sudan, in Darfur. The Janjaweed militia has been slaughtering people in Western Sudan. Hundreds of thousands of people have died. They've been supported by the Sudanese government. The Sudanese government's propped up by the Chinese, who buy oil from Sudan. The United States of America declared it a genocide. What have we done? What have we done? I was in Uganda. And by the way, this is post-Rwanda. This is after Rwanda, and we said we will never let anything like this happen again. What's happening right in front of us right now. I was in Uganda just a few weeks ago, just south of Sudan, where there are huge atrocities going on in northern Uganda. Over 1 million people have been herded into camps. There are kids there doing heroic work for the International Rescue Committee. But America could make an enormous difference. Thousands of children being born with AIDS in Africa because their mother can't pay for a $4 dose of medicine. How can that be? How can the United States of America let that happen? Global warming, a huge moral issue for this world. And America walks away. America unilaterally walks away from Kyoto. What kind of leadership is that? What kind of signal does that send to the rest of the world? Listen, on global warming and creating a real and new energy economy for this country, America needs to lead. And we need to be willing, we need our leaders to be willing to ask the American people to be willing to be patriotic and sacrifice about something other than just war. We need to say to America, yes, we need to move away from our addiction to oil. We need to move away from our reliance on carbon-based fuels because we're doing incredible damage to the ozone. And we need to invest in clean alternative sources of energy, which everyone in Iowa knows. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. But it's not enough. It's not enough. We're actually going to have to be willing to conserve. We're actually going to have to be willing to not continue to be the extraordinary user of energy that we are today, the extraordinary user of oil that we are today. And there are so many things and so many ways to pay for this, to pay for our innovation, our creativity, for the government to jumpstart so much of the work that can be done. One way to pay for it is to put a tax on the excessive profits of oil companies, their windfall profits. But America must be the leader in the world again. And this is, but I want to say one last thing about this. This is not a feel-good thing. You know, although I'd like to feel good again. It's not a feel-good thing. I mean, the truth of the matter is we didn't used to be the country of Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib. You all know this. We were the light. We were the model for the entire world. We were the place. Everybody wanted to be like us, right? Well, we need to be in that place again. And for that to happen, we're going to have to meet our responsibility to the rest of the world. We're going to have to show that we're engaged with the rest of the world, and it will be an enormous responsibility for the next President of the United States. And we also need to show not just what we're willing to do over there, but what we're willing to do to make ourselves the model for the rest of the world. When in the world, I talked about energy, I talked about global warming, but when in the world is the United States of America, the richest nation on the planet, finally going to say, we must and we demand universal health care for all Americans? And all of you, when you start taking questions, some of you may have questions about this, and I'll be happy to talk about it. I'm actually working on a health care plan as we speak, a truly universal health care plan, not access to health care or affordable health care, but a truly universal health care plan. Another issue that's very important to me, and I hope it's important to many of you, is how can America be the model for the rest of the world when in the richest, most powerful nation on the planet, 37 million of our own people wake up every day worried about feeding and clothing their children? How can that be? I mean, we're better than this.